When I opened my eyes, a stranger in a white coat was cutting through the leather strap on my wrist. My watch, I whispered, my throat burning like I'd swallowed broken glass. Please, the watch my granddaughter gave me. Stop, I tried to say, but the word came out cracked and desperate. The man looked down at me, and in his eyes I saw something that made my blood run cold. Was it pity? Was it fear? He leaned so close I could smell the coffee on his breath, and whispered 5 words that shattered my entire world. This watch is poisoning you. Please like this video and listen to my story till the end, and let me know which city you're listening from. That way, I can see how far my story has traveled. My name is Thomas Morrison. I'm 69 years old. For 36 years, I taught European history at Northwestern University in Chicago. I spent my entire career teaching students about the great betrayals of history. Julius Caesar and Brutus, the Borgias and their poison rings, King Edward and his murdered princes. I taught them that betrayal was something you read about in dusty textbooks, something that happened to other people, to kings and queens and politicians. I never imagined I'd become a case study myself, and I never, not in my darkest nightmares, thought the person destroying me would be my own flesh and blood. Let me take you back to where this nightmare began. 362 days ago, Christmas Eve in Chicago, Illinois. The kind of Christmas Eve you see in movies. Snow falling like powdered sugar outside my brownstone windows. The fireplace crackling. Bing Crosby playing softly on the radio. My wife Rachel had been gone for 4 years by then. Pancreatic cancer. The kind that gives you 3 months and takes you in 2. After she died, I learned something about grief that nobody warns you about. It doesn't shrink. You just learn to build your life around this massive, unmovable thing sitting in your chest. Like building a house around a boulder you can't remove. My granddaughter Emma and her fiancé David came over that evening. Emma is 38 now, but when I look at her, I still see that 6-year-old girl who used to make me pretend tea while I try to grade essays. She's been with David for 4 years. They got engaged last summer. He works in tech consulting, something with cryptocurrency and blockchain. I never fully understood it, and honestly, I never really warmed to him. But Emma loved him with this fierce, bright love that reminded me of how I loved Rachel. So I kept my doubts to myself, because that's what you do when you love someone. That Christmas Eve, after we finished dinner, after the dishes were cleared and the wine was poured, Emma handed me a small rectangular box wrapped in midnight blue paper with a silver ribbon. "Grandpa Thomas," she said, and her voice had this tremble in it that made my heart clench. "David and we wanted to give you something special this year. You've been alone too long in this big house. We worry about you every single day." I unwrapped it carefully. I've always been the type to save wrapping paper, fold it neatly, use it again. Rachel used to tease me about it. Inside was a watch. Beautiful, didn't even begin to describe it. Black leather band, rose gold face. Sleek, sophisticated. The kind of watch you see in magazine advertisements worn by men on yachts. It looked expensive, very expensive. "It's a smart watch," David explained, and that smile of his spread across his face like oil on water. "Top of the absolute line. Latest technology. It monitors everything. Heart rate, blood oxygen, sleep patterns, stress indicators, even irregular heartbeats. All the data gets sent directly to an app on Emma's phone." He leaned forward, his eyes intense. "That way, if anything happens to you, if anything seems off, we'll know immediately. We can get you help before something serious happens." I looked at my granddaughter. Tears were sliding down her cheeks, catching the firelight. "Please wear it, Grandpa," she whispered. "Please. I can't lose you too. You're all I have left of Grandma. You're all I have." What was I supposed to say to that? What could I possibly say? I put it on right there, my hands shaking slightly as I fastened the clasp. The leather was butter soft against my skin. It fit like it had been made for me. "Thank you," I said, pulling Emma into a hug, feeling her shake with quiet sobs against my shoulder. "Both of you. This is incredibly thoughtful. If I had known what that watch really was, if I had known what it was designed to do to me, I would have thrown it into the fireplace right then and there. I would have watched the leather curl and blacken and burn. I would have asked the questions that needed asking. But I didn't know. How could I have known? The first 6 weeks, everything seemed fine. Normal. January in Chicago is brutally cold. Wind that cuts through your coat like knives. Ice that turns sidewalks into death traps. I mostly stayed inside, reading, watching documentaries, calling old colleagues from the university, doing crossword puzzles. The quiet, gentle rhythm of retirement. The watch sat on my wrist. Silent. Innocent. Then late February arrived. And with it, the first symptoms. It started with headaches. I'd never been prone to headaches in my entire life. Rachel used a joke that I had a skull made of granite. Nothing got through. But suddenly, I was getting them almost daily. This dull, persistent throbbing right behind my eyes. Like someone was slowly tightening a vise around my temples. I called Emma about it one evening. "Grandpa," she said, and I could hear the concern threading through her voice. "I've been checking the app. Your stress levels have been really elevated lately. Are you sleeping okay? Are you eating properly?" I wasn't, actually. I've been waking up at 2, sometimes 3 in the morning. Heart hammering in my chest like I'd run a marathon. Sheets drenched with sweat. These terrible dreams I could never quite remember when I woke up, just the feeling of them. Like drowning. Like suffocating. "Maybe you should see your doctor," Emma suggested gently. "Just to be safe. Just to rule anything out." So I did. Dr. Harrison had been my physician for 23 years. He knew my medical history better than I did. He ran all the standard tests. Blood work, EKG, blood pressure, cholesterol. Everything came back normal. Perfect even. "Thomas," he said, leaning back in his chair with that reassuring smile doctors practice. "You're 69. Some aches and pains are part of the territory. Your body isn't a machine. Try to get more exercise. Maybe cut back on the caffeine. Consider some meditation or yoga." I followed his advice like a good patient. I started walking every morning around the neighborhood, even when the wind made my eyes water. I switched to herbal tea. I downloaded a meditation app. The headaches didn't stop. By mid-March, new symptoms crawled into my life like uninvited guests. My hands started trembling. Not constantly, just sometimes. A coffee cup would rattle against the saucer as I lifted it. My signature, when I signed checks, started looking shaky. Uncertain, like it belonged to someone else. I've been signing my name the same way for 70 years. And suddenly, it looked like a stranger's handwriting. Emma called more frequently now. Sometimes 3, 4 times a day. "Grandpa, the app is showing your heart rate spiked to 125 last night at midnight. What were you doing?" "Sleeping," I told her. "Trying to sleep." "Maybe." She paused, and I could hear her breathing on the other end of the line. "Maybe you should come stay with David and me for a while. We just moved into that new condo. 3 bedrooms. Plenty of space. We could take care of you. Make sure you're okay." I refused. I've always been stubborn. It's a Morrison trait. We dig in our heels. I'd lived in that brownstone since 1992. Rachel and I bought it together. Painted every room. Planted the garden. Hung the pictures. Her presence was in every corner. I could feel her there. I wasn't about to leave because of some headaches and shaky hands. That was my first mistake. Have you ever ignored warning signs because you didn't want to believe something was wrong? Sometimes our hearts refuse to see what our minds already know. April brought the fog. Not outside. Inside. Inside my mind. I'd be reading a book, something I'd read before, maybe even taught before, and realize I'd been staring at the same page for 20 minutes without processing a single word. I'd walk into a room and stand there, completely blank, with no idea why I came. I'd pick up my phone to call someone and forget entirely who I meant to dial. One afternoon, I drove to the grocery store, a trip I'd made literally thousands of times. Same route, same parking lot, same store. But when I came out with my bags, I couldn't find my car. I walked up and down those parking rows for 30 minutes, my heart racing faster and faster, my hands shaking so badly the bags were rustling. People were staring at me. This confused old man wandering around, clearly lost. Finally, I found it, parked in a completely different section than I remembered. Not even close. I sat in the driver's seat and I cried. For the first time since Rachel's funeral, I just broke down and cried. Because the memory loss terrified me more than anything else. My father had dementia. I watched him disappear piece by piece over 9 years. watched this brilliant man, this professor of literature, who could recite Shakespeare from memory, forget his own name, forget my name, forget everything. The thought of going through that myself, of losing who I am, of forgetting Rachel's face, her voice, the way she laughed at my terrible jokes. I called Emma that night. My voice was shaking. "Sweetheart," I said, I think something might really be wrong." "Oh, Grandpa." She was crying now. I could hear it. "I think you need to see a specialist, a neurologist. David knows someone excellent at Rush University Medical Center. Can we make you an appointment? David knows someone. David always knows someone." "Okay," I whispered. "Okay." What happened at that appointment changed everything. The diagnosis they gave me was devastating. But the real horror, the real nightmare, I hadn't even begun to understand what was actually happening to me. 2 weeks later, I took an Uber to Rush University Medical Center. Emma had offered to come with me, but I told her no. I needed to do this alone. I needed to hear whatever they were going to tell me without anyone else there. The neurologist was a woman named Dr. Patel. Sharp, no nonsense, kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. She ran me through test after test after test. Memory exercises that made me feel like a failing student. Physical coordination tests where I had to walk in straight lines and touch my nose with my eyes closed. Brain scans where I lay completely still in machines that hummed and clicked around me like some science fiction nightmare. When she called me back for the results 3 days later, her face was carefully neutral, the kind of neutral that doctors practice when they have bad news. "Mr. Morrison," she said, folding her hands on her desk, "I'm not going to sugarcoat this. Your scans show some concerning patterns. There's evidence of early-stage cognitive decline." The room tilted. The air felt too thin. "You mean?" I couldn't say it. Couldn't make the word real by speaking it out loud. "It's too early to definitively diagnose Alzheimer's," she continued. "But the indicators are there. The good news is we've caught it early. There are medications that can slow the progression significantly." She wrote me a prescription. Little oval pills. White. Innocent looking. "Take one in the morning, one at night. With food. We'll monitor you closely. See how you respond." I filled the prescription at the hospital pharmacy. Started taking them that very day. That night, I stayed at Emma and David's condo. They'd insisted. They wanted to take care of me, they said. Make sure I was adjusting to the medication okay. Their place was beautiful. All modern. Clean lines. Expensive furniture. Everything white and chrome and glass. It felt cold to me, like a hotel. But Emma seemed happy there, and that's what mattered. They were so attentive, it was almost suffocating. David kept refilling my water glass before it was even half empty. Emma kept asking if I was comfortable, if I needed anything, if the guest room was too cold or too warm. On my third night there, I woke up at 1 in the morning with the worst headache of my entire life. It felt like someone had driven a railroad spike through my skull. I stumbled to the bathroom, barely able to see straight. My hands were shaking so violently I could barely grip the doorknob. I turned on the light and looked in the mirror. The face staring back at me was gray. Hollow. Ancient. When did I become this person? When did I become this withered, frightened old man? Then I noticed something strange. The watch on my wrist was warm. Not body temperature warm. Hot. Almost burning hot against my skin. I touched the face of it with my other hand. Definitely warmer than it should be. Definitely not normal. Probably just a battery malfunction, I thought. I'd have David look at it in the morning. But as I stood there in that cold bathroom at 1 in the morning, something whispered in the back of my mind. Something dark. Something terrible. A thought I immediately pushed away because it was too horrifying to even consider. I went back to my own home the next day. I needed my space. My things. My memories. The medication didn't help. If anything, everything got worse. May brought dizzy spells. I'd be standing at the kitchen counter making coffee, and suddenly the entire room would tilt sideways like I was on a ship in a storm. I fell. Twice. The first time, I caught myself on the dining room table. Just bruises. The second time, I cracked my head on the corner of the kitchen counter. Blood everywhere. So much blood. 8 stitches in the emergency room. Emma was hysterical when she found out. "Grandpa, this is absolutely ridiculous. You cannot live alone anymore. This is dangerous. You need to come stay with us. Permanently. We'll convert the guest room into your room. We'll take care of you. You'll be safe. I'm fine. I insisted, even though we both knew it was a lie. By June, I'd lost 18 pounds. Food tasted like paste, like cardboard. I had no appetite for anything. My clothes hung off me like I was a scarecrow. My world shrank smaller and smaller until it was just me and the four walls of my house, and this watch that never left my wrist. Have you ever felt your life closing in around you? Like the walls are getting closer every day? That's what it felt like. Like I was being slowly erased. July 3rd. I remember the date because it was the day before Independence Day. The irony of that still haunts me. I was sitting in Millennium Park watching families set up their spots for the fireworks the next night. I'd walked there from my house, about 3/4 of a mile. It was a warm evening, humid, the kind of Chicago summer evening where the air feels thick and heavy. I was so tired. I'd barely slept the night before, maybe 2 hours. My head was pounding like a drum. The world seemed to shimmer and blur at the edges like a watercolor painting left in the rain. A young mother walked past me with 3 children. They were laughing, carrying a picnic basket and blankets. She smiled at me as she passed. I tried to smile back. Then the ground rushed up to meet me. I don't remember falling. One moment I was sitting on that bench. The next I was lying on the grass, staring up at the sky, and there were voices swirling around me like I was underwater. Someone call 911. Is he breathing? Give him some space. Sir, can you hear me? Then everything went black. When I opened my eyes, I was in an ambulance. Bright lights. The smell of antiseptic and something metallic. The siren wailing somewhere above me. A paramedic was cutting through the band of my watch with medical shears. Stop. I croaked, my voice barely working. What are you doing? That's my watch. My granddaughter gave me that. He looked at me. Young man, maybe 28 or 30. Dark, serious eyes that had seen too much suffering. Sir, he said quietly, I need you to stay calm. Can you tell me your name? Thomas Morrison. That watch. Please. My granddaughter gave me that watch. It's important. His hands paused, just for a fraction of a second. Then he leaned down close to my face, so close I could see every detail of his expression. And he said something that stopped my heart. Sir, this watch is killing you. What? The word came out like a gasp. What are you talking about? The radiation levels coming off this device are extremely dangerous. I've seen this before. We had a case in Milwaukee. Someone modified a fitness tracker with an emitter. Slow radiation poisoning. By the time we figured out what was happening, he didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. My mind was spinning. Spinning so fast I thought I might be sick. I don't understand, I whispered. My granddaughter gave me this for Christmas. She loves me. She wouldn't. Sir. His voice was so gentle now. So sad. Who would benefit if something happened to you? The question hung in the air like smoke. Like poison. I thought about my house. My brownstone in Lincoln Park. Worth at least $900,000. Probably more in today's market. I thought about my retirement accounts. 36 years of teaching. Careful investments. Stock portfolios. Probably close to $600,000. I thought about David's smile at Christmas. The way Emma called me 4 times a day to check the app. The medication that wasn't helping. The constant invitations to move in with them. No, it couldn't be. Not Emma. Not my granddaughter. Not my sweet girl who I'd raised after her parents died in that car accident when she was 4 years old. Not the little girl I'd read bedtime stories to every single night for 14 years. Not the girl I'd walked down the aisle at her college graduation, tears streaming down both our faces. But even as I denied it, even as I pushed the thought away, something inside me knew. Something had known for months. I just hadn't wanted to see it. That paramedic saved my life. But what he told me next, what he showed me, it broke something in me that can never be fixed. The paramedic's name was Jackson Rivers. I'll never forget that name as long as I live. After they stabilized me at the hospital, after the doctors ran every test imaginable and found nothing wrong that couldn't be explained by months of radiation exposure, Jackson came to visit me in my room. He was off duty, wearing jeans and a faded Cubs t-shirt. He brought a folder with him, brown manila. Thick. Mr. Morrison, he said, pulling a chair close to my bed. I shouldn't be doing this. This isn't protocol. But I've been tracking these cases on my own time. And I think you need to see this. He opened the folder, spread photographs across my hospital blanket, medical reports, autopsy results, police reports, newspaper clippings. There's a company operating out of Shenzhen, China, he explained. They sell these modified devices, smartwatches, fitness trackers, even wireless earbuds. They look completely normal, but they've got tiny radiation emitters built inside. Low level, not enough to kill someone quickly, but over time, over months. He showed me photo after photo. 11 deaths in the last 4 years that he knew about. Probably dozens more that got classified as natural causes. Old age, heart failure, strokes. All the victims were elderly. All of them had family members who stood to inherit significant money. My hands were shaking as I looked through the papers, but this time it wasn't from tremors. It was from pure, burning rage. How do I prove it? My voice came out rough. Raw. How do I prove what they did to me? Jackson pulled out a small device from his pocket. Silver, about the size of a phone. Radiation detector. $60 online. If you can get access to that watch, or anything else they might have given you. I thought about the medication. Those little white pills Dr. Patel prescribed. The pills I've been taking twice a day, every day for 4 months. Can you test something else for me? I still had the bottle in my overnight bag. I'd brought it with me to the park that day. Always dutiful. Always taking my medication like a good patient. Jackson took 3 pills. Said he knew someone who worked in a private lab. Someone who owed him a favor. The results came back 2 days later. The pills weren't medication. They were a combination of sedatives and some kind of neurotoxin. Low doses, accumulating slowly over time. Between the radiation from the watch and the poison from the pills, I should have been dead by October. Maybe sooner. It was elegant, really. Diabolical, but elegant. No one would have questioned it. Elderly man with early-stage Alzheimer's has a stroke, or his heart gives out, or he falls and hits his head. Tragic, but these things happen. I sat in that hospital bed and I wept. Not from fear. Not anymore. From heartbreak, so deep I thought it might swallow me whole. How could she? How could my Emma, my precious girl, do this to me? I called her that evening. Kept my voice weak. Confused. Playing the part of the sick old man I'd been becoming. Emma, sweetheart, I said, letting my words slur just slightly. I had another episode. They're keeping me here for observation. A few more days, they said. Oh, Grandpa. Her voice dripped with concern. Perfect. Practiced. David and I will drive over first thing tomorrow morning. Don't worry about anything. We'll be right there. That would be wonderful, sweetheart. I think maybe you were right. Maybe I should come live with you. I can't do this alone anymore. I'm so tired. I heard her sharp intake of breath. Surprise. Relief. Anticipation. We'll make all the arrangements, Grandpa. We'll take care of everything. You just rest. I love you, Emma. A pause. Just a fraction of a second too long. I love you too, Grandpa. I hung up the phone and stared at the ceiling of that hospital room for hours. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I made calls. To my lawyer, Marcus Chun, who'd handled my will and estate planning for 20 years. To the Chicago Police Department's fraud division. To a former student of mine, Sarah Bradford, who now worked for the FBI's white-collar crime unit. When Emma and David arrived the next morning, they weren't alone. 2 plainclothes detectives were waiting in the hospital parking lot. A forensic team was already executing a search warrant at their condo in River North. I watched from my hospital window as they pulled into the parking lot. Emma was carrying flowers. Yellow roses. My favorite. The kind Rachel used to grow in our garden. David was carrying a leather portfolio. Probably paperwork for power of attorney. The final step in their plan. The detectives approached them before they even reached the entrance. I saw David's face change. That confident smile cracking, crumbling, melting into something desperate and ugly and afraid. Emma just stood there, completely frozen. The roses slipped from her hands and scattered across the pavement, yellow petals everywhere. Can you imagine watching the person you love most in the world being arrested, knowing they tried to kill you? It's a pain I wouldn't wish on anyone. Our eyes met through the glass. For just a moment, I saw my little girl again. for years old, holding my hand at her parents' funeral. 8 years old, showing me her report card with all A's. 16, crying on my shoulder after her first heartbreak. 23, graduating from college with honors. Then I saw the woman she'd become. The stranger who had been slowly poisoning me for money. How do you reconcile those two people? How do you hold both of those truths at the same time? I still don't know. The investigation took 7 months. Every day felt like a year. The evidence was overwhelming. Crushing. The watch with its modified emitter. The fake medication. Bank records showing David had taken out a life insurance policy on me without my knowledge. $500,000. Emails between David and his supplier in Shenzhen. Detailed instructions on dosage and exposure time. Text messages between Emma and David. Planning my natural decline. Discussing how long it would take. Whether they should speed up the process. One text from Emma made me physically ill. He's losing weight so fast now. Won't be much longer. I almost feel bad. But we need this, David. We deserve this. The trial was harder than anything I'd ever endured. Sitting in that courtroom day after day, listening to prosecutors describe how my own granddaughter had plotted my murder. Watching her cry on the witness stand while her lawyer argued that David had manipulated her, controlled her, coerced her into this. Maybe that was true. Maybe David was the mastermind and Emma was just weak, just greedy, just willing to look the other way while the man who raised her slowly died. But weakness doesn't excuse betrayal. Weakness doesn't excuse watching your grandfather waste away and pretending to care. Making those phone calls 4 times a day, monitoring the progress of his death, like checking the weather. Weakness doesn't excuse knowing and doing nothing. David got 30 years. First-degree attempted murder, insurance fraud, conspiracy, importing illegal devices. Emma got 15. Her lawyer managed to get the charges reduced based on diminished culpability. She'll be out in 10 with good behavior. Maybe less. I haven't visited her in prison. I don't know if I ever will. People ask me that sometimes. Friends. Jackson. My lawyer. They ask if I'll go see her. If I'll forgive her. I don't have an answer. How do you forgive someone for trying to kill you? How do you forgive your own granddaughter for watching you suffer and calling it love? After the trial ended, I had to rebuild my entire life. But I wasn't starting from nothing. I was starting from less than nothing. After the trial, I sold the brownstone. I couldn't stay there anymore. Every room held memories that had turned poisonous. The kitchen where Emma and I used to bake cookies together. The living room where she'd done her homework while I graded papers. The garden where Rachel's roses bloomed every spring and Emma used to help me prune them. All of it was contaminated now, tainted by what she'd done. I moved to a small 2-bedroom apartment in Evanston, near the lake. Simple, clean, no history, no ghosts. Jackson and his wife Michelle check on me regularly. They invite me over for Sunday dinners. Their 2 kids, 7-year-old Mia and 5-year-old Connor, call me Grandpa Thomas, even though we're not related by blood. Maybe that's the lesson in all of this. Family isn't just about blood. It's about who shows up. It's about who sees you, really sees you, and chooses to care anyway. Who doesn't want anything from you except your company. I'm 70 now. The doctors say the radiation damage was significant but not permanent. My memory has mostly returned. The tremors have stopped. The headaches are gone. I still get tested every 3 months just to be safe. I take walks every morning along the lakefront. 6 miles usually, sometimes more if the weather's nice. I watch the sunrise over Lake Michigan and I think about Rachel. I think about the daughter Emma could have been. I think about the life I almost lost. Sometimes, late at night, when I can't sleep, I wonder where I went wrong. Was I too strict when I raised her? Too lenient? Did I spoil her? Did I not show her enough love, enough attention? Was I so focused on my grief after losing Rachel that I failed to see what Emma was becoming? Did I create the person who tried to kill me? I don't have answers. Some questions don't have them. What I know is this. I'm alive. I'm still here. I wake up every morning and I get to see another day. Another sunrise. Another season. Another year. There's a woman I've been seeing. Her name is Grace. We met at a grief support group for widows and widowers. She lost her husband to a heart attack 6 years ago. We started talking after one of the meetings. Went for coffee. then dinner, then long walks along the lake where we don't always need to talk because silence feels comfortable. I'm not looking to replace what I had with Rachel. I don't think that's possible. My heart isn't looking for that kind of all-consuming love again. But companionship, kindness, someone who sees me and doesn't want anything except to share a meal, watch a movie, talk about books, that feels like more than enough. That feels like a gift. Tell me in the comments. And if you've dealt with something similar, share your story. You're not alone. Subscribe for more stories about standing your ground and reclaiming your life. My great-grandchildren write to me sometimes. Sophia is 14 now. Benjamin is 11. Their mother is in prison because of me, because I chose to live, because I chose to fight back. They know something broke in our family that can never be repaired, but they don't understand all the details yet. I write back every time. I tell them about my walks, about Grace, about the books I'm reading, about the movies I've seen. I never mention Emma, never mention what she did. That's not my story to tell them. Maybe when they're older, when they're adults, they'll ask questions. They'll want to understand how their mother ended up in prison, how their family fell apart. And I'll tell them the truth as gently as I can. Their mother made terrible choices, and choices have consequences. Actions have weight. But I'll also tell them this, and I mean it with everything in me. I don't hate her. I can't hate her. She was my granddaughter before she was my enemy. She was the baby I held in the hospital 70 years ago. The little girl who laughed at my terrible jokes. The young woman who stood beside her grandmother's grave and held my hand while we both said goodbye. That person is still in there somewhere, buried under the greed and the fear and the terrible choices. Maybe prison will help her find that person again. Maybe it won't. That's not up to me. Forgiveness isn't about excusing what someone did. It's about releasing the poison so it doesn't destroy you too. I'm still learning that. What is up to me is how I spend whatever time I have left on this earth. And I've decided to spend it living. Really, truly living. Not as a victim. Not as a cautionary tale. Not as a broken old man who almost died. But as someone who got a second chance and refused to waste it. The watch is gone. Sitting in an evidence locker somewhere, probably. Or destroyed. I don't know and I don't care. I bought a new watch. Nothing smart about it. Just a simple analog face. Silver. Classic. It just ticks away the seconds and tells me the time. I look at it sometimes and I think about time. How precious it is. How easily it can be stolen. How miraculous it feels to have it back. There's this moment every morning when I wake up. That split second before you remember everything. Before the weight of your life settles back onto your shoulders. In that moment, I'm just a man in a bed. The sunlight coming through the window. The sound of waves in the distance. And then I remember. I remember what happened. What Emma did. What I lost. But I also remember that I'm still here. I survived. I fought back. I reclaimed my life. In that moment, that realization, it feels like victory. Small. Quiet. But victory nonetheless. Last month, I started volunteering at a senior center in Rogers Park. Teaching a history class twice a week. Just basic stuff. World War II. The Civil Rights Movement. The Cold War. My students are all in their 70s and 80s. Some of them have memory issues. Some of them are lonely. Some of them just want something to do, somewhere to go, people to talk to. I see myself in every one of them. And I see what could have been if Jackson hadn't noticed that watch. If he hadn't cared enough to investigate. I would have died. Alone. Confused. Thinking I was sick when I was being murdered. I teach them history. But I also pay attention. I notice things. If someone seems off. If someone mentions a new device a family member gave them. If someone's losing weight too fast or having symptoms that don't make sense. I've learned to trust my instincts. To ask uncomfortable questions. To not look away. Grace says I'm making a difference. That my story, as horrible as it is helping people. Making them more aware. More cautious. Maybe she's right. I hope she is. Because if something good can come from this nightmare, if even one person is saved because they heard my story and paid attention to their own warning signs, then maybe it wasn't all for nothing. I've learned things about myself through all of this. Things I never wanted to know, but needed to know. I've learned that I'm stronger than I thought. That I can survive things I never imagined surviving. I've learned that love and betrayal can exist in the same person. That someone can hold you as a baby and plot your murder 40 years later. That's the part that still keeps me up at night sometimes. I've learned that grief has layers. I'm not just grieving the granddaughter I lost to prison. I'm grieving the granddaughter I thought I had. The one who loved me. The one who cared. That person never existed. Or maybe she did once and changed. I'll never know for sure. I've learned that forgiveness is complicated. People expect you to either forgive completely or hate completely. But life isn't that simple. I can miss Emma and be angry at her. I can remember the good times and acknowledge the horror. I can love who she was and fear who she became. All of those things can be true at once. I've learned that resilience isn't about being unbreakable. It's about breaking and choosing to put yourself back together anyway, even when the pieces don't fit quite right anymore, even when there are gaps and cracks that will never fully heal. There's a scar on my wrist now, from where the radiation burned my skin over months of exposure. It's faded some, but it's still there. Probably always will be. Sometimes I catch myself touching it, tracing the outline, remembering, but it doesn't hurt anymore. It's just a mark, evidence of something I survived. Grace asked me recently if I regret anything, if there's anything I wish I'd done differently. I thought about it for a long time. I wish I'd asked more questions, I finally said. I wish I'd listened to that voice in the back of my mind that said something was wrong. I wish I hadn't been so trusting. She was quiet for a moment. Then she said something I'll never forget. But Thomas, your trust wasn't the problem. Your trust was beautiful. It was a gift. Emma and David were the problem. They took something beautiful and used it as a weapon. Don't let them turn your capacity to love into something shameful. Maybe she's right. I'm trying to believe her. I'm trying to remember that being trusting isn't the same as being stupid. That loving people isn't naive. That the problem wasn't my love. The problem was their greed. But it's hard. Some days are harder than others. Last week, I saw a young woman at the grocery store with her grandfather. He was elderly, maybe 80, using a walker. She was so patient with him, helping him reach items on high shelves, laughing at something he said, holding his arm as they walked. I had to leave my cart and walk outside. I stood in the parking lot and I cried. Because that's what I thought I had with Emma. That's what I believed we were. The wound isn't healed. I don't know if it ever will be completely, but it's healing. Slowly, day by day. Jackson stopped by yesterday, brought his kids. We took them to the beach, built sandcastles, ate ice cream. Such simple things, such ordinary moments. But they felt extraordinary to me, because I almost didn't get to have them. Mia held my hand as we walked along the shore. "Grandpa Thomas," she said, "are you happy?" Such a big question from such a small person. "Yes, sweetheart," I said, and I meant it. I'm happy, because I am. Not constantly, not every moment, but overall, yes. I'm happy to be alive. Happy to see the sunset paint the sky pink and orange. Happy to taste my coffee in the morning. Happy to hear Grace laugh at my jokes. Happy to watch Jackson's kids grow up. These small, beautiful moments. That's what life is. That's what they tried to take from me. But they didn't succeed. I'm still here. Still standing. Still living. If you're listening to this, I want you to know something. Please really hear me. Pay attention to your body. If something feels wrong, trust that feeling. Don't explain it away. Don't let anyone convince you that you're overreacting. Pay attention to the people around you. Not because you should live in fear or suspicion, but because awareness is protection. Love doesn't mean blind trust. Love means seeing people clearly and choosing to love them anyway. Ask questions, even when they're uncomfortable, especially when they're uncomfortable. Get second opinions. Do your own research. Don't just accept what one doctor tells you or what one family member tells you. If someone benefits from your death, be cautious. I hate that I even have to say that, but it's true. Money makes people do terrible things. And if you have that whisper in the back of your mind, that little voice that says something isn't right, even if you can't explain why, listen to it. Don't dismiss it. Don't rationalize it away. That whisper might just save your life. It almost saved mine. I just didn't listen soon enough. I also want to say this. If you're dealing with betrayal from family, if someone you love has hurt you in ways you never thought possible, you're not alone. You're not crazy. You're not weak. You're not wrong to feel destroyed by it. What happened to you wasn't your fault. Trusting people who claim to love you isn't a character flaw. It's human, and you will survive this. I promise you. It won't feel like it some days. Some days you want to give up. Some days the weight of it will feel crushing. But you're stronger than you know. You'll find people who genuinely care, who show up, who don't want anything from you except to see you heal and thrive. You'll rebuild. It won't be the same. You won't be the same. But you'll be something new, something that survived, something resilient. My name is Thomas Morrison. I'm 70 years old. I'm a retired history professor, a widower, a grandfather, a great-grandfather, and a survivor. I survived my own granddaughter's attempt to murder me for money. But I'm not defined by that. I refuse to be defined by that. I'm defined by the choice I make every single morning when I open my eyes. The choice to live. Fully. Completely. With my whole heart, even though it's scarred. I'm defined by the walks I take. The classes I teach. The time I spend with Grace. The Sunday dinners with Jackson's family. The letters I write to my great-grandchildren. I'm defined by the fact that I'm still here. And if you're listening to this, you're still here too. Whatever you're going through, whatever betrayal you've survived or are surviving, whatever darkness you're walking through, you're still here. And that matters. That means something. That means everything. Keep going. Keep fighting. Keep choosing life. Because every sunrise you get to see is a victory. Every breath you take is an act of defiance against everyone who counted you out, who wrote you off, who thought you'd be easy to break. You're not broken. You're breaking through. And on the other side of this, there's life waiting for you. Real life. Beautiful, messy, imperfect, precious life. I'm living proof of that. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for letting me share this with you. Thank you for being here. Wherever you are, whatever city you're in, whatever time it is, I hope you know you're not alone. We're all survivors of something. We're all carrying scars. We're all just trying to make it through. But we're doing it together. And that makes all the difference. My name is Thomas Morrison. I'm 70 years old. And I'm still here.